The number one tool that my clients ask for, both for tax and accounting, is the Home Office Workbook. And let me tell you why. So this last tax season, 2025, I had a client. He's a digital content creator and sells digital products, and his year took off and he ended up making way more income than he was expecting. Good for him. But when it came time to do the accounting and the tax return, it was like, we need some deductions. What are we going to do? And the home office is a good one because it's something you're paying for anyway. When my clients come to me and they're looking for tax deductions, they're like, oh, I got to go out and buy equipment. And I'm thinking, if that makes sense for your business, then yeah, let's talk about how that can serve you. But if you're just spending money for the sake of tax deductions, that's not really financially all that strategic. You're pretty much just throwing money at stuff. And I like to encourage people, if you're going to throw money at something, throw it to your own bank account, throw it to your retirement account. So, anyway, I said to Dave, let's look at your expenses. What can we now include on your profit and loss for the business that we haven't already captured? And auto and home office were the two things that we were able to add after the fact and ended up saving him a bit of money. So what we were able to do is we were looking at, he's a renter, he's got his rent expense, he's got renter's insurance, he's got utilities. He shoots primarily out of his home. It's his principal place of business. In total, we were able to add about an extra $15,000 of deductions onto his company's books, and it ended up saving him almost $4,000 in taxes. Because this has been such a popular and in-demand tool for my clients, I have created a digital product which you can purchase, and it goes through a few different things. It's going to have a decision tree to help you determine if this is something you're eligible for. It's going to have the actual Excel-based calculator that gives you examples and instructions. It's going to have a common mistakes that I've seen in practice. And it's also going to have a video tutorial that'll give you a complete explanation of how the workbook works and some things to look out for. So I'm going to give you a quick little preview of what that tool looks like, and you can find in the description below a link to the store where you can check out that tool.
So let's go through this. I would recommend that you start with the decision tree because you don't want to spend the time to calculate the deduction if you find out you're not really eligible for it. So there's a series of questions, and just like any good decision tree, based on the answer, you're going to go left or right. So just work through that. And even if you find that you're not currently eligible, this could be used as a good guideline to figure out what needs to change so that you would become eligible. I would then come over to the calculator itself. And I've got a few tabs on here to try and give you as much context and information as possible so that you know what you're essentially trying to accomplish here. So there is some guidance, some different talks about how this deduction works for different entity types. This is related to the law changes, what counts, what doesn't count. The exclusive use test tends to be the most important hurdle that you're going to have to overcome to get this deduction. This next tab is an example. So I've filled it in with some information to give you an idea of how it works. So these gray cells here are going to be the ones where you're going to input data. And then these are all going to be calculated based on formulas that live in here. So you can see in this example, let's say I have a home of 2,000 square feet. I have 150 square feet of exclusive use home office space. So 7.5% of my expenses related to the home can qualify potentially for the home office deduction. So the things that we tend to look at are these categories here. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list. There could be other things. I would refer back to the guidance, or if there are things that it's like maybe you have a separate septic charge. And so I didn't write septic here. You could write in septic. It's part of the utilities that are a part of your home's ongoing maintenance, and therefore your office's ongoing maintenance. Now, there are some expenses that could be direct expenses. Let's say that home office, you needed to put in curtains because you were getting too much glare when you were doing your Zooms. That's considered a direct expense. So that's not something you have to allocate. That's something you can take the full amount of. So there's two times that this spreadsheet becomes really helpful. It's calculating the deduction after the fact, but it's also really helpful for calculating the deduction if you are reimbursing yourself. This is for my S corps. If you are reimbursing yourself on a periodic basis, no longer than 90 days, pursuant to an accountable plan within your S corp. Because what you want to do is, rather than claiming this deduction on your Schedule C, your 8829, what you're doing is you're going to have the company pay you rent, more or less, and reimburse you for the cost of use of your home, the cost of your utilities, the cost of your internet, any direct expenses. And so this really should be done then on a quarterly basis. And so having these amounts in there for estimates is going to help you calculate that quarterly amount. So over here, this is the tab where you can do this on your own. This is where you start to put in your numbers and figure out what your deduction is.